Hi, and welcome to episode 8 of In Conversation with. My name is Jonny Cooper, and over the next hour or so, we are going to be talking to two current students here from DCU to hear all about how they are getting on in their courses. In just a couple of moments, I am going to bring Gillian because I see she is patiently waiting on my screen in front of me across into the room, and we're going to talk about religious education. And then a little bit later on, we're going to be talking to Louise from our international relations course. So do relax, sit back. If you have a couple of questions, please do ask them on your screen in front of you. If you're coming in on whatever device happens to be, there's a Q&A function on your screen as we're chatting the next couple of minutes. Please do get your questions in. I know our students are always very keen to hear from people and answer any questions that you have. So we'll make this as conversational as we can. And before I introduce and bring Gillian properly into the room, I just want to let you know that we do have plenty of resources that are online. If you go to dcu.ie/CAO, you'll see plenty more things like blogs, your podcasts. We have social media takeovers taking place all the time. We're here obviously every Wednesday live from 4 to 5, or this will be put up and record as well as plenty of, you can chat live to students, as well as plenty of other resources that are there. So just do keep that in mind as we're talking as well. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring our first guest across into the room. So if you bear with us a couple of moments, we should see Gillian come onto our screens. And a reminder again that there's a Q&A function on the screen, so please do use it as we are talking. I can see you, Gillian. I can hear you. Yeah. How are you?
I'm good, and yourself?
Fresh from co-hosting of our recent virtual open days. How did they go?
Yeah, so much fun. Honestly, like I was sitting there and I felt like I had all the power. I was like, I have the ability to talk to people, to kick people out. Because normally when you're a student, you sit like on the other side and it's the lecturer who has all the power. So it was really fun. And I learned a lot, I have to say, like stuff I didn't know about like accommodation and things like that. So it was really, really useful. And we recorded it as well, which is really handy for people to like look back on if they do have any other questions and stuff.
And go on, tell us, kick anyone out when they shouldn't have been kicked out?
No, we were actually really lucky in our room. We had really sensible questions, and there was one there the majority. I can't actually remember her name. And the question she was asking, I was like, she must have like a list of things that she needs to know. And she's like straight in there, like on point. And it was really nice to see that like so many people were engaging with us. And but then when they would get like their question answered, they type in like a little thank you. And it was just like, oh, it was so like nice and like heartwarming.
For those that don't know what we're talking about, we had our recent virtual open day event that took place the 20th and 21st of November, and Gillian was a co-host of one of our 9 live channels. So, and she was looking after that, as well as many other students actually helped us out a lot on the open days. So thank you for that. So we have a couple of people listening. I know these go up and record. They're getting brilliant traction online as well. So depending if you're watching this live or watching this back and record, but if you're watching this live, again, just a reminder, there's a Q&A function on the screen. If you want to ask a question to Gillian, please throw it in there. I'll be keeping an eye on it, and we'll get to as many questions as we can the next couple of minutes. So we want to try and get into a little bit around the course, obviously in terms of covering off that side of it. Then we'll cover a little bit of it outside the classroom, and we'll probably just have an informal conversation. And as I said, if there's any questions from people, please do fire them across. So rundown of your course. Give us a sense, I guess, from a helicopter view, what the course is all about and what's involved in it.
So I'm the Bachelor of Religious Education with history, but if you are not into history, you can either take music or English. If you pick music, you do have to do a music exam, but it's not very difficult from what I've been told. I've been told I could pass it, so I mean, we'll have to find out one day. It's 4 years long. You get placement every year, which is really nice. It's what I'm actually working towards at the moment. So just before this, I was getting all my lovely schemes of work ready for my tutor to look at. It's really great. 25% of the course is actually placement. So it means you're not in college. You're actually like out in a school doing what you love, and you're practicing what you love. You're also people, so like to learn like kind of the tricks of the trade and stuff like that, and build interest outside of your subjects. So last year on my placement, I actually discovered that I really like PE, and that I would quite like to maybe like coach a basketball team when I do get out and get a job. As well as that, you also have 3 different electives. So you have your elective, which mine is history, or you can do music or English, as I said. You have religion and you have education. For the religion and education, you're with everybody. So the entire course is together of about 100 people. And then for your smaller electives, you're together with just your class, which is normally about like 30, 40 people, depending on what you're in. It's really nice. All the lecturers are just absolutely lovely. Like they're the type of people that you would see in Starbucks, and you'd go and sit down with them and have a chat, which is just so nice. And the course as well is based down in PATS, which is lovely because we love good PATS representation, which means that we have all the education building. We have the library with all the education tools and stuff like that, which is so handy. We have computer rooms. We have the Minecraft room, which is just so much fun to go into. Have you been into the Minecraft room, Jonny?
I have.
Yeah, so much fun. They got beanbags in there as well, which like when you can sneak an owl beanbag and you can just sit there on your laptop, that's like the best bliss of life right there. And yeah, it's just so nice. Down in PATS as well, we mix with all the other students. So we mix with the other secondary school courses, which is the language courses, or on occasion when the science courses come down. And we also mix with the art courses, and we mix with the early ed, which is really nice. So you get to know a lot of people, which is lovely because you can't walk from one end of the campus to the other without someone saying hi to you, which is just so lovely.
To put into context, just for those, and I'm not too sure, again, people's awareness, but we have 3 academic campuses, and what Gillian is referring to is the St. Patrick's campus, which houses our education courses, if you like, but we do have a DCU All Hallows and the DCU Glasnevin. So in terms of context, that's just where it fits in. You mentioned placement. I know placement is often on, in terms of queries, often on people's question list to be like, give us a sense in terms of detail around placement, what you get up to, weeks, what years, and so on.
So in first year, you spend 2 weeks in a primary school teaching. This is to show how, I suppose, students develop from like primary school into secondary school, because we all know like they hit a certain age and they just get really moody, and it's for you to understand like why does that happen. So I actually taught 4th class on my first year placement, and I still cannot go down near the school without hearing, "Hi, Miss O'Moore." So that's like really lovely. And then in 2nd and 3rd year, you go 4 weeks in a secondary school. In 2nd year, you go to your old secondary school, which is so lovely because you get to see all the ins and outs of like your teachers and what they actually do, and that the scary teacher is actually really nice, and that the nice teacher is actually like an absolute mess, and she's lost like half the Christmas test for the class. And then in 3rd and 4th year, you go to new schools. So in 3rd year, it's 4 weeks in a new school. And then in 4th year, it's all of the 2nd semester. So that's from after Christmas to just before Easter. You're out in the school teaching, which is really nice. And this year placement is a little bit different, but I think we'd all expect that. So we're actually online this year, which means we're teaching imaginary students, but it gives us as student teachers a lot of opportunity to mess around with new technology, new things, and to learn a bit more, because like I think we can all do an interactive whiteboard and we can all like put up a PowerPoint, but I'm learning lots of new skills this year, like Zoom or the Bitmoji classroom, stuff like that. So it's really great that we're building like a more well-rounded experience outside the classroom on technology, because it is the way forward.
For those that are watching now live, and just a reminder, there's a Q&A function, please do type in any questions, or those watching this back and record, what do you need to know about the course? So if people are looking now, they're listening to this, they're looking at the prospectus, doing different things, what do they need to know, or what should they know going into the course?
Well, you should know that you have an interest in teaching, because the amount of people I think who come into the course expecting one thing, but it's a complete opposite. If you don't have that passion and that drive to get up in front of people and to speak to them, you're not going to get it through the course. A lot of people do find their passion gets bigger, which is great, but you need to be able to do it in the first place. And even if you're scared to get up in front of like 30 students with like, 30 eyes looking at you, it's you will learn those skills. The teachers who are teaching us have been in that situation and they teach us those skills. So once you have the passion to do it, it's perfect. Like that's what you need. You need to understand your subject. I mean, you can't come in and start teaching the wrong thing. So I did history all the way up through secondary school, and I knew from the moment that I loved it. So when it came to, well, what subject am I going to teach? I knew straight away, history. That is what I know. That is what I love. So if you love music, you can teach music. If you love English, teach English. The religion side was quite new to me. So I would say to people not to be scared. I did not do exam religion at all in secondary school. My religion experience was very different to a lot of the people on our course. We have some people who did exam. We have a lot of people who didn't do exam. But they start everyone on ground level and then you all work up together, which is really good because it means that we can all help each other. We all build a nice little community. So like, don't be scared if you think like, I've never done religious education in my life. Like, that is okay. Once you want to do it, that's okay. I would also say if you know a little bit about technology, that would be absolutely amazing, because straight away you're able to make a PowerPoint, make a Word document, do loads of things that I did not know how to do, but I was taught by a lot of the people on our course, like the students, they just helped me, and by a lot of our lecturers. So they're like the main three things: to know your subject, to have the passion, and then if you have the technology, you don't need it. I didn't have it, definitely did not have it. I mean, getting into a Zoom webinar is complicated enough for me, but it definitely does help. But it's not required. So those would be like my main three things.
Now, don't forget you're running your own Zoom webinars, so you can not only
Yeah,
get in, but you can run them.
I know, but you helped me with that, so that's okay.
Well, there you go. We're here to help. Excellent answer. Really insightful, and it's those types of, I guess, things that the prospectus won't necessarily tell you. They might tell you in different ways, etc. Hence why I wanted to ask. Brief one: class sizes and kind of hours per week. And I know semester and years might change the hours, but class size and hours on average.
So you do 6 classes in a semester. So a semester is from either September to Christmas or Christmas to Easter. And you could have anywhere between, I suppose, 12 hours to 18 hours. We're definitely not as full on as other courses. So it leaves like lots of gaps in between the day that you can go do stuff with clubs and societies. You can go to the library and do some work. You can chill with your friends. So it's definitely not as full on as, we'll say, primary school teaching, where they would be in from 9 to 6. We would be in from 9 till 6, but we could have a gap from like 12 to 3. So you have that time to chill, relax, eat, all the important things. So you do about 6 classes, and then in second, third, and fourth year, you get to pick some of your own classes. You get to pick like what really does interest you. So this year I am doing theoretical approaches to religion, which sounds really scary, but once you get to third year, it's not, because you've been doing it the past 2 years, and it's an area that really interests me. So that's what I'm going to do next semester. So because I picked it next semester, I actually only have 5 classes this semester, which is very nice. But next semester I do have 7 classes, so it will be busy then. So it really does depend on what you pick yourself, but it usually is 6 and 6 with about 12 to 18 hours a week, which is really nice.
Brilliant. Thanks for that. So you mentioned the DCU St. Patrick's campus down in Drumcondra is where you're based out of, formerly based out of, or primarily based out of. How much, and I know this will change from person to person, how much time do you spend on the other campuses? Do you do much activities, etc.? And then we might talk a bit about clubs and societies and that type of thing too.
So All Hallows is actually just across the road. It's you cross the road, walk down like a little street, and you're there. It's beautiful. I would recommend for everyone to go to it, like if you do get to come to the campus. I personally, it's my favorite campus, even though I'm not actually based there. The canteen there is just so warm and inviting. The carpet is really thick, and you just like sink into it when you walk in. So it's my favorite that when I have time to relax and study, I will actually go over there and do it, because I find it's quieter. It also has lovely green areas. So if you want to walk, but you don't want to necessarily like walk on the street, it's lovely there. The Glasnevin campus, I don't have any of my classes up there. So traveling up there is mainly for clubs and societies. There's great links with the buses that are right outside Pat's and then right outside Glasnevin, which is really handy. And then when you're traveling up, you can also walk. It only takes about 20 minutes, but I'm that person who prefers to spend €2 on the bus to go up. But it is a nice walk if anyone is interested in that. So the Glasnevin campus is actually really lovely. And now that they've finished all the building up there, it's just so open and so spacious. And like, it just looks so cool compared to Pat's, where Pat's is really colorful. Glasnevin is really like architecturally sound and stuff like that. I love the U building. The U building, for anyone who doesn't know, is our student hub. And in there is the student bar, the venue where we will hold all our like big events, Londis, which is always so handy, so you can sneak down and get a drink. And then there's normally like loads of events on there, so you can go and chill in the U, or you can go into one of the autism friendly pods, which is a pod that honestly, like, it's mind blowing. You go in it, close the door, and it's silent. You can't hear anything. which is so great, especially because one of my friends is autistic, and when we go in, he just is in a zen place because he doesn't have to listen to all the background noise. So it's really cool.
It's good to have, and again, some people that are watching this live or watching this back, whatever it may be, maybe haven't been there yet and don't have a full appreciation just purely from the fact of not being there yet. But I guess to what you're describing is, yeah, you're based somewhere primarily and do lots of your activities in your classrooms, but then you also have, if you want to go for a walk, if you want to go to the shop, you want to go to an event, you want to go to the Helix and watch a show, you have the, I guess, at your fingertips, the use of all the facilities and all the campuses. I think that's an important point to note. Yes, they are separate locations or campuses, but doesn't necessarily mean there's any barrier. It doesn't mean there's any barrier to using anything on any campus. So with that in mind, use it like outside the classroom. Give us a sense of what goes on, what you get up to, and then we might talk a little bit around what benefit they are in terms of what you gain, personal development, things like that. So outside the classroom, what goes on?
Yeah, so I'm involved in DCU drama. I'm really heavily involved. I love being on stage. I love being behind the production. We actually have our 3 shows on over the next 3 weeks, which is really exciting. I'm in the panto this year, and it will be the first cyber panto out of all of the colleges in Ireland, I think. So we're the first one to actually try it on Zoom. It's really fun. You meet so many people. So like, I'm an education student. I'm friends with education students, but outside of that, in the panto, I have met computing students, I've met science students, I've met business students. So we all kind of come to a place where we have some common interest, and from there, so many friendships blossom and grow, and it's just so lovely. We all share the same like interests, which means then that you can then go somewhere else with them. So I really love dance, and then one of my friends loves dance, so we then went to a DCU dance production thing, which was really nice. I'm also really involved in RAG, which is the Raising and Giving Society. So I love giving back. I love volunteering. So they give opportunity for you to develop skills outside the classroom. So I'm really heavily involved with Localize with them, which is a group that help with promoting ideas in a local area for youth to get involved in. So they get teenagers in, and the teenagers say, well, what can we help with? Let's do something for the local garden. And we will then go and like plant trees, plant flowers. It's really nice. Which I love, because obviously I'm studying to be a secondary school teacher. So to do something with teenagers is really great then for my CV. So it builds up my skills. They also offer opportunities for people who are like primary school, or even just if you love sport. They do Go Gaga on a Monday evening, and it's the most hilarious thing ever, where it's like a bunch of little kids running around and you're teaching them GAA, and they're just like, some of them are listening, some of them are not, and it's just absolutely hilarious to watch them with the footballs. And it's like, no, you're not meant to do that, but they're having fun, so you don't want to give out to them too much, and it's hilarious. So it's really nice that like you can develop interests that will help you with your course. So my volunteering with Localize, or just for something I'm passionate about, like my drama with the panto. So DCU definitely do offer something for everyone within the 140 clubs and socks. Like, there's definitely something for everyone.
Localize, as you're talking there, is brilliant. I've come across it myself. It's brilliant, and it really does give you a good sense of, for those that don't know how do you actually get involved in the club? Like, say, come in first week, first year, how do you get involved in the club and society?
So there is normally the Clubs and Socks week, where in the big Sportland up on Glasnevin campus, you can go in, you can meet all the clubs and societies, but this year we had to do it differently. So we moved online and we had a virtual fair. You would click into the little stand like you would, you'd go up to the stand, you talk to the people, and if you're interested in joining, it's €2 for the year this year, which is an absolute bargain. Like €2 for so much fun. And you join, and then you'll get a weekly email all about the events that they're hosting and stuff like that. So if you join, we'll say DCU Dance, they do different dance classes every single night. So if you like jazz, you can go to jazz on, we'll say, Thursday. But then if you like hip hop, you can go to hip hop on Monday. So you'll find all that information out once you get your email. So things are normally set up. You can also join the committees. So I'm actually on the committee for RAG. I'm the inter-society officer, which means that I go and I talk to the other societies and I'm like, would you like to do something with us? And we organize big events. You can check out all the social media as well of all the clubs and socks for prospective students. Like, if you just type in dance DCU, it will come up and you'll see everything that they do, or drama DCU, which is really handy. It's also on like the SU website and stuff like that. So it is really good to like have a look and see what you may be interested in. Because I didn't know when we came, there was a Pokemon Go society in DCU. And I mean, like, what more could a student want than to play Pokemon Go around the campuses? Like, it's just so much fun. So once you find out what you want to do, you just go look them up, ask the questions, you'll find the answers, pay your bargain of a €2. Like, I mean, €2, such a bargain. And then you can have all this fun for the rest of the year, which is great. And I'm one of those people, I sign up to about 50 clubs and societies, and then like my email is just full of all these events and I don't have enough time to do them all. So it's just, there's something for everyone.
We are very proud here in DCO Club and Societies, and they do rightly get so much attention. They get so much, I guess, appreciation both in and hopefully then people who do decide to come into DCU. But often a hidden kind of side or gem, even though you do realize this very quickly, is the formal positions, the PROs, the chairpersons. You have your own position, the various different positions that you can hold, which give you an opportunity to personally develop. And we mentioned this before around leadership and communications and traveling and hosting events and, giving back to society and the community and the campuses, etc. So Club and Societies comes as a big ball of opportunity in many different ways, depending on
to build yourself outside the classroom. It's not just about the degree you'll hold at the end of the day. It's also about the experiences and the memories you'll make. And I will say that to anyone who comes to DCU, you don't just come in, go to your classes and go home. You get involved, you get stuck in, and you get so much back for it. So much back. Even if it's just that you made a difference with fundraising for a charity, even if it's just that you made a new friend, you get so much back, and it's just so worthwhile. And I think it's one of the only campuses as well that you can go. So like, I'm on Pats, but I could go up to Glasnevin and I will meet so many people that I know, because even though we're a medium-sized university, I feel like we're just the tiniest little one that like, I feel like I know everyone and everyone knows me, and it's just so heartwarming and lovely because it is that community within DCU and within the clubs and societies as well.
It's actually interesting to say, because on episode 7 last week we were speaking to Roisin, and she was describing it as there's so much support but it doesn't smother you. So if you want to go and seek something out, or you want to find somebody, or it's a friend or whatever it might be, they're always there, but they're not kind of in your way as such.
Yes.
And that was in a support context, but I think you're saying it in kind of a similar, that you have so much at your fingertips and you decide and you have the power to. We're nearly coming towards the end. These are like a drop in the ocean. I appreciate for those that are listening and watching this back when it's up online as well. So where did you do your research, or how did you find the right information that you needed for the course when you were initially coming in?
My course, I followed the DCU Snapchat Fridays, which is just DCU Snaps for anyone who's watching. And I heard about my course on there, which was so funny when I came into the college, because I then met those ambassadors. And when I heard about it, I was kind of like, that's for me. I love teaching. I love history. I didn't necessarily know about the religion, but then when I went on to the online prospectus, I found out more about it. And I was like, yeah, I could do that. Like, that could be me. I could be teaching religion in some classroom with some random students. So then I came to the DCU Open Day and I spoke to the lecturers. I met my current program chair, PJ Sexton, who now like I know so well. Like, it's just so mad to kind of think that 4 years ago at this stage, I was just that student, but now like I'm within the course helping other students. So I'd recommend for everyone, like, if you want to know more, you follow the DC Snapchat Fridays. Like, just add us on Snapchat. We pop up every Friday and it's really funny to watch. Like, I still watch them and I'm in a course. I learned so much from them. And also the Instagram, I think that's so handy this year. Like, I wish we had an Instagram back when I was a student. And then of course the Twitter, I went onto the Twitter and I was looking at the blogs and I was looking at things that like current students were doing and current like lectures and stuff like that. So that's where I got my information. But the DCU prospectus is really, really great and it tells you so much information. But the online stuff is where you see the things that you don't necessarily hear about, like what I think a student needs before coming into the course. You don't get that on the prospectus. So I definitely recommend for students, go on to DCU Snapchat Fridays, go on to the Twitter, go on to the Instagram. Like, that's where you will get all the information you need and you'll make such an informed decision then when it comes to the CAO. Like, you'll know what you want.
And I know my colleague Sinead McCrowan does fantastic work all around the social and much more. And just to maybe highlight and maybe inform everyone, it's what. So yes, we're across all social media channels. We're here every Wednesday live. These go up on record as well. We have a UniBuddy platform. You can chat live to students, as you mentioned already. You can read blogs. There's podcasts. There's so much more. There's online campus tour videos, a whole series of them that our student ambassadors did, amongst other resources that are there. So just bear that in mind if you're listening to this now, going, where can I get more information? I guess, as Gillian expertly described, you can get it all across many different platforms. So we covered a little bit, and again, half an hour conversation, really short, but we covered a little bit around the course, what goes on inside the course, the campuses, the opportunities outside the classroom, and where you did your research. What else, if anything, should somebody know? Or if you're putting yourself back in your shoes a couple of years ago, someone that's listening now, prospective student, what would you tell yourself? Is there any one piece of advice or anything at all that jumps to mind?
The one piece of advice I would say is to look at how you would get to the college. I did not realize the links between the different campuses. I thought All Hallows was halfway across the city when it's literally a 2-minute walk down the road. And the links between the Glasnevin and Pat's campus are great. There's so many buses that go that way. And even if they don't drop you right at the back gate, you can just walk down like a 5-minute road and you're there. It's also only 20 minutes away from the city, which I just think like Drumcondra and Glasnevin, oh, they're ages away. But realistically, I'm the person who gets lost on O'Connell Street. So I just did not realize how close everything was to one another, which is really handy when you're traveling. Um, I'd also say, like, look at everything. Don't just look at your course. Look at what else is offered. So look at placement. Well, what placement are you going to get? Do you want to go to your old secondary school? Do you want to go to your old primary school? Think of everything, because it's not just, okay, I'll put this down, I'll get the points, I'll go to college. There's a lot more to think about than just that. Like down on my CAO, I had random things. I had business, I had teaching, I had communications. I just did not know what I want to do. But then literally the day before, I put my course on top, and I'm so glad I did, because I'm so happy. And I'd really recommend for everyone, make that informed decision, because at the end of the day, what you get offered is what you get offered. And you want the train ticket, as my mom used to say, it's a train ticket, and you want the train ticket that is going to go the full distance for you to get to where you want to be. And I think that's where you need to do your research. So I would definitely recommend for everyone to do that research, because at the end of the day, I'm so happy right now. If I had told myself in sixth year, you're going to get there, you're going to go the distance, and you're just going to be so happy, that's what is the main thing.
I don't think I should even try attempt to add anything on top of that final answer. I think that's a great way to finish and conclude today's conversation. I just want to thank you for your time. I know lots of people.
Oh, thank you for having me.
We didn't even get a chance to mention student ambassadors, but you do lots of fantastic work as well. And lots of people will, I know, no doubt, get lots of value and insight from this 30 minutes or so. So as always, thank you for your time, and we'll speak soon.
Thank you for having me.
Not at all. We'll speak soon. Thanks, Gillian.
Thank you. Bye.
Not at all. See you soon. So just while we're changing over, because I see Louise on my screen, our next special guest is going to come on now in just a couple of minutes' time, and I'll allow one or two people that are going to join this conversation. So I'm just going to leave another minute or so before we start the second conversation. So just a reminder for those that are watching this back, that there's plenty of resources online, podcasts. We mentioned lots of them just there in the conversation with Gillian. There's podcasts, there's blogs, so across all social media channels, interactive. You can ask questions if you want to chat live to a student. You can do that as well. We have that on our UniBuddy platform. We're here obviously every Wednesday live from 4 to 5 speaking with students. This is episode 8. So in the first 7 episodes, we spoke with a total of 16 current students. So again, they're all up online. You can watch back any of them and hear all about their perspectives, as well as hearing from graduates. We spoke to some graduates as well. So do keep all of them in mind. Where will you find them? You'll find them at dcu.ie/CAO. So do head over there anytime. We'll have the latest information on that site and up on that in that space for the rest of the year. So without further ado, because we're just going, if you're watching this live, we're just going beyond 4:30. I'm going to bring Louise across, our next speaker from our international relations course. So hopefully the next couple of seconds we'll be joined by our second special guest of the day, Louise Mclaren. And just like the power of technology, how are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
Yes, things are good. Firstly, thank you for your time.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Not at all. As always, our student ambassador group and team and members are always more than willing. So looking forward to speaking a little bit around your course. There is a Q&A function on the screen as well. So do, if you're watching this live, use that and ask any questions. And I've no doubt that Louise will be happy to take any questions. And if you're watching this on record, studenthelp@dcu.ie, you'll get us on that anytime if you'd like to chat and hear more about everything. So, firstly, I guess it's at the start. How has the last couple of months been? And then we'll jump into the course. How are you getting on at the moment?
It's been unusual. So it has. Can't say it's been like anything that we've had before, but we're sort of now, because we had the online learning back in March, just sort of knew what you were getting yourself in for. And I actually find that I've been paying a lot more attention in lectures because you've not got so much distractions. And the socializing part is hard, but I've actually found the online learning pretty easy.
You adapted quite well, which lots of people seem to have done so. So I think the DCU model that they had pretty much changed overnight. They went to obviously an online learning system, which is, for those that are watching this, we use a place called DCU Loop, which is effectively a kind of a one-stop shop where all the lecturers interact and put up quizzes and message, and you can talk to staff and you can talk to students and so on. But you got on all right.
Yeah, I find because sometimes I find like I'm not busy taking notes, I'm not necessarily listening to the next thing in lectures. So I've loved that we've had them recorded, so I watch them live and then go back and watch them again. So that helps me like just take in all the information um that the lecturers are talking about.
Yeah, it's interesting. I guess lots of people are finding that, some is obviously finding it challenging being from their Wi-Fi and their different places where they're located and different things. But I guess all in all, it does seem. Let's start, if we can, at your journey to DCU and I guess coming into the program, finding out about the program, finding out about the university. I guess so. Maybe let's start there and then we'll work our way into the course and what it's all about.
Okay, so I'm from Belfast, so we don't like we do the UCAS application. CAO was never mentioned in school. Um, and for me, like even though Queens and Jordanstown are local to me, they just didn't appeal. Um, so I went one day and Googled universities in the south, and DCU come up, and I was like, "Oh, this place looks interesting," and it's the closest. It's the first one past the border, so I was like, "Okay, so it's not too far from home." Um, and I initially did the business program, but I did 2 years of that. But I found it wasn't for me. I was sort of struggling along, so I decided to take a year out. And then so I took a year out. I did a couple of different things, a couple of different courses, and then I came back in 2018 to do international relations. And honestly, that changing was the best decision I ever made because I was struggling along, sort of getting about a third, 2-2 in business, whereas now I'm getting 2-1 first in IR.
That journey or decision to come from Belfast down, what in terms of research and what gave you, I guess, the comfort to know this is the place? Was it open days? Was it talking to students? Was it social media? A bit of everything in terms of finding out about it initially.
Um, for the for a couple of weeks, I was sort of on the website nearly every day, just researching about it constantly. And whenever I came down for the open day in 2014, it would have been.
Mm-hmm.
My mum says that she knew straight away as soon as we drove in that gate with the big DCU sign. She said my face changed, and she knew that this was the place for me. I just, um, I just had a feeling like I was home, if that makes sense. Like I was just like, this is where I'm meant to be. This is where I'm supposed to go. And I sort of knew from that open day that yes, this was the place where I wanted to go. And then I talked to quite a few of the student ambassadors at the time about the university. And they were like, oh, it's brilliant. Like, you'll have such a good time down here. Everyone's so friendly. And I always remember Jack Butterley talking to me, and he was like, oh, this place is amazing. I love it so much. And I was like, I love it. I have to go here. And then that's also what inspired me to be a student ambassador as well. just sort of to spread his enthusiasm.
It's amazing how it all comes full circle. Sorry, I cut you
Yeah,
off. Go on.
no, that was the end of that. Yeah.
It's amazing how it all does come full circle. And now we'll talk about you being a student ambassador. Try capture if you can. I know it's difficult because I think I know the space you're getting and it's often hard to describe. Try capture for me, or for those that are listening more so, that kind of feeling of I knew this is the place, or I knew this is the one. Was it just a feeling? Was it something in particular? A person? Was it Jack? Was it the buildings, the size, the letters?
I think it was the letters at the start because I had been to quite a few university open days, and I think because it was something new and because it was so modern as well. Like Queen's, everybody knows it's a very old building. Jordanstown, again, it's pretty old, whereas DCU is very modern. And as soon as I drove in, I was like, wow. And what I really loved was the size of the campus. So, like, as the ones at home, they're all spread out, they're massive, whereas DCU's, like, it's quite compact. The Glasnevin campus, and then, of course, Pat's and All Hallows are not very far away. So I liked that everything was really close together. And, like, because you have the accommodation, the shops, the gyms, the U, everything is so close. Like you could live on campus without ever leaving for a year easily. And I really liked that. And the friendly family atmosphere. Like people look out for you at DCU, which is something that I hadn't noticed at other universities. And that's something that I particularly liked.
It's great to hear that journey, and just in particular the insights. That's why I wanted to push it a little bit. And we're nearly 10 minutes. We haven't got into the course yet, but I just want to ask you one more thing because we'll come around to the course and we'll cover everything anyway. Around that research element, I know right now, depending on if you're watching this live, you're watching this back, it's currently November the 25th. So right now, being physically there on campus for an open day or visiting isn't, I guess we don't have the ability to do that, but hopefully very, very soon we will. That ability to go on campus, would you have made the decision if you hadn't to come to campus? Was it that important to get there and to see it and to feel it and to really try to get a sense physically being there?
I think for me it did help, but I even before I came to the campus, I had my heart set on DCU. Like as soon as I saw the courses online, and especially for now coming around to change the course to do international relations, it's the only one in Ireland that does that course. So I think before, like from the research I'd done, like I was on the website nearly every day, Facebook, Twitter, all of them constantly. Um, like I had sort of had my heart set on DCU from the start, but I have been like my sister has been looking at DCU. She's only 14, but she's getting her ideas sorted already. And we watched the virtual tour video online yesterday, and the new one on YouTube. And even if you can't visit the campus, like it's a fantastic video, shows you around, shows you everything. So if you can't make it on campus, like I would watch that.
Yeah, and thanks for mentioning there is a full, I think it's about 8 or 9 minutes virtual tour of all of our campuses, and then there's a series of mini campus tour videos that we have as well. So if you're watching this either now live or watching this back on record, you can find them on our dcu.e/CAO hub page there. So plenty of resources online. Right, okay, let's get into the course because we're supposed to be talking about the course. So you mentioned your journey to DCU, you then changed into IOR, into international relations. What is the course all about? And give us a helicopter view, and then we might get inside the classroom and some of the modules.
So I always sort of describe it as world politics, world events. Like it's not just about Ireland or the Irish political system, though we do cover that. Like if you're interested in loads of different things, like the US elections, the conflict in Armenia that's happening at the minute, um, sort of no matter what you're interested in, it's usually got a module to cover that. So I find it's sort of like politics, sociology, a little bit of history, um, world events and affairs, sort of things like that. So if you like sort of keeping up to date with the news, it's an ideal course.
Is it a big course from a student population point of view?
No, my class has 55 people. So it's relatively small, and then we would have, because there's two different streams, languages and international relations, you'd have classes of maybe about 20, 30 people, and sometimes they're even smaller for like the languages and stuff. Maybe have 10 people. So like I know everybody, and I'm friendly with everybody, know them all by name. So it's not like you're going into a particularly big classroom.
If you're coming from, say, second level school, whatever it might be, how would do they have to do particular subjects? Is there particular subjects that you would say if you really liked history, yes, this is something, or is it something you can kind of come into it with? It starts from the ground and you work your way up, and if you have an interest in the space in general, or is it a subject kind of related space you have to have particular interests in?
So you don't have to have like any particular subjects. I did for my A levels, I did politics, sociology, and business. So I do find that for me, the politics and sociology does help, but I know a lot of schools in the south don't offer this. Um, I would say the main thing is you need to have an interest in what's going on in the world now. So if you're not interested in listening to the news and things like that, then it's maybe not the course for you. But if you like to keep up to date with what's happening in the world and sort of modern history, things like that, then it is a very good course to do.
Is it 3 years or 4 years?
It is can be either 3 or 4. So the year I started, 2018, was the first year we introduced Erasmus and Intra. So there was supposed to be quite a few of my course were supposed to go away this year. Unfortunately, they should be going away next year, fingers crossed. But I chose to do the 3 years, but you can do the 4 years as well.
If you're to go on Erasmus, and you might know the answer to this necessarily, but where can you go, or is there options?
Yeah, so you can go, because you can study French, Spanish, or German. We have partners in France, Spain, and Germany, and there is also ones in Holland and China, as far as I know, that you could go to as well.
Well, dynamic. I'd say that would be an experience, obviously, COVID aside, that I'm sure lots of students will and continue to take.
Yeah.
In terms of then, so that was a little bit about the program. In terms of then, to say like contact hours, kind of lectures or modules per semester, what's sort of the weight around there?
So we do about 10 modules each semester, eight to 10. So we have 5 each semester and about 10 hours. So this semester we've had a little bit more because we've had tutorials, but they're not every week. So we have a basis of 10 hours every week, and then maybe an extra hour or two on certain weeks, depending on when our tutorials are. So there's not a huge amount of classroom time, but you would have like a fair bit of reading. This year I've had quite a few weekly assignments just to, for things to keep on top of. So even though you maybe don't have a huge amount of classroom time, there is always work to keep on top of.
I know right now it's online, but I guess if you can give us a sense of, so if I was in the course or came into the course and I don't know, I didn't understand something or wasn't getting on great with a subject or whatever it may be, give us a sense of maybe just some of, can you go to lecturers? Are they there in terms of support? Is there, as you mentioned, tutorials? If you're struggling in any way from a classroom point of view, what are some of the opportunities or some of the outlets you can go to for help?
Yeah, so for me this year, nearly every module has a tutorial, which is helpful because then you can ask questions, you can clarify things. Um, over this year and the last 2 years, the lecturers generally have 2 hours a week set aside. Some of them are in 2 hour blocks, some of them are an hour on different days. You can call up to them. You don't have to make an appointment or anything, and you can discuss any issues that you're having, like whether you don't understand things, and they can explain it, or like if you need help with an assignment or things like that, they'll give you a hand. And because it's got such a small classroom group as well, it's very easy to keep in contact with everyone. So if you don't understand something, someone generally will. So people are always they're always able to help you. you'll say I've had times where there's been maybe 5 or 6 of us. We've all went to the library, sat together, and went through a subject. So some people understand things more than others, so we'll all help each other.
Yeah, it's good to know because some people might be thinking, yes, this is definitely for me, but I'm just a little unsure. Or I think I might struggle, or so I just wanted to touch on that. So we have about 10 or 12 minutes left or so. Want to talk a little bit around outside the classroom, what you get up to, opportunities in that space, and we might then touch on being a student ambassador, kind of maybe to bring it full circle to close out. But outside the classroom, what goes on? What are you getting up to? How do you feel and spend your time?
So I am involved in the DCU Archery Club. So I am both a committee member and a competitive team member. So last year I was the inclusivity officer, and this year I am the events officer, which has been a bit of a joke so far because we haven't had any events. We were supposed to have a competition. I think it was supposed to be this weekend, but that obviously didn't happen. So that is something that I've been involved in. And then from that, I have went to competitions in Dublin, Maynooth, Cork. We were supposed to go to Galway, but unfortunately that didn't happen as well. The COVID's not great for archery. But it's been really good. Like, I've made loads of new friends. I've learned loads of new skills as well. I had quite a few injuries, but that's um, part of it. But I've had a fantastic time doing that.
When I asked the question over the last kind of 7 episodes to all various different students, different programs, was the one piece of advice you'd give yourself? By and large, it comes back to get involved, do something, don't be afraid, put yourself forward. Just try it once at least, and you'll probably like it after that. Archery, you always were into it. You tried it once and you never look back. How did you get into that space?
Um, so it was sort of funny because I said at the start of second year that I wanted to get into a sport. And then about 2 days before the semester started, I fell at the Giant's Causeway and broke my leg. So I was in crutches and a boot. So anything that involved running or jumping or things like that, it was out. I couldn't get involved in any sports. And my mum had seen on the Instagram stories about there being archery, and she says, "Why don't you sign up for that? Because you loved the Hunger Games when you were younger, and you don't have to move." So I said, "Right, I'll go and I'll give it a go." And I had such a great time the first lesson that I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna stay at that." Um, because it sort of became a running joke over. I was inclusivity officer because I was the one on the crutches, and we had a great laugh about me being like, the one person who started archery on like one leg and then having to switch and learn my balance all over again. So yeah, I basically joined that because of a broken leg.
Wow, like, and lots of people do what you did and don't come back, or it's not for them. But I guess it's interesting and it's great to hear you stay, and just a fantastic I guess reports and memories and experiences, and long may they continue as well, and no doubt beyond the university life as such as well, in terms of lifelong friends. So clubs and societies, for those that aren't quite sure exactly how to get into them, essentially in your first couple of days when you come to university, this year is online, but you have a kind of a clubs and socks week, if you like, and you can join as many or as little as you want, but they're all there, and you can speak to people like Louise who are in different spaces and get a good sense. So if you're watching this back, that's kind of how they work and how you get involved. And as Louise is describing there, you can get involved in different positions to accelerate your personal development. So we have a couple of minutes left. I want to try maybe just get into kind of, because when you listen to students, or when you talk to students like yourself, they always see it, or, they're the true sense of what goes on. So I want to try get tips, is probably the wrong word, but just different insights. So something that a student should know if they're looking at doing international relations, anything that jumps to mind, you should know this, or make sure you go to campus, or whatever the piece of advice might be. Anything jump to mind?
And the one thing that I would say, and I would give this advice to anybody looking at going to university, is really do your research on the course. Try and talk to people. So, like, you can email studenthelp@dcu.ie and they can put you in touch with us. Like we have the blogs and things as well. And what I like about TCU is that they have all the modules online, so you can go and see what modules you're doing over each year. So I think really research your course, because like having the first thing I would say for myself is when I initially started, I researched the university a lot, but not necessarily the course. Whereas the second time around, I made sure I really knew the course. I knew it practically inside out. I could tell you what modules I was going to be doing in final year before I'd even started. So just make sure that you know, have a good look at what you're going to be doing, because you might want to do something and you look at the modules and you're like, actually, this isn't really for me. And sort of just give yourself a clear idea of what you're interested in. Like with it's something different for the CAO than the UCAS, but you have 10 options. And I know people sometimes feel like they have to fill in all of those options, but if you know that you can like try your best and get into somewhere, you'd be better maybe not filling up with unnecessary options, because then you might end up in one of those, but really try hard to get into like your top 3. And something that I did, again, this is sort of a open day thing, but you could do it at home, was I had got a DCU wristband. Um, Whereas now that there's pens and there's phone holders and things, I had a DCU wristband and a cutout from the first page of the prospectus. So I wore this wristband every day and I had the prospectus up, the front page of the prospectus, and I looked at it every single day and I was like, this is what I'm working for. This is what I'm putting the work in for. Like I found that really motivated me, because it gave me an end goal through the really tough days. Was even though things were really bad or I was struggling, I was doing this to get to DCU.
Yeah, well, it's good to, and obviously people come or get to university in many different routes. Some come back as a mature student, some come from transferring, some come directly in and they're happy. And that's such sound advice to provide somebody else, or a tip, if you like, or an insight, that if you're lacking at times, which we all do, motivation, or you have different challenges and whatever it may be, having that end point in mind or having it visible as you had, it's such a sound piece of advice. Anything, I want to wrap up kind of in this space, because I think it's so important that when people listen to these conversations, they're pretty much where you were, where I was, or anyone else was a couple of years ago and haven't gone through it, pitfalls or challenges or anything like that. Any advice you'd give yourself, generally speaking? So not necessarily to do with coming to DCU or the course, but maybe it is. But any advice that you give yourself again?
So there's a quote that I kind of live by. It's from the musical Hamilton, and it's, "I am not standing still, I am lying in wait." And it's basically, for me, it means I've had opportunities pass me by, I've had things not work out, but just because they've passed me by, they obviously weren't meant at the time. So I'm not standing still waiting for them. I'm lying in wait for them, the right thing. I'm waiting for the right thing to come to me, rather than and letting the things that weren't for me pass me by.
I don't think I should attempt, a bit like the last conversation with you, I don't think I should attempt to try and top that. That's brilliant, and it's really a poignant way, I think, to finish the conversation, or to kind of wrap up the conversation. Just let people know that are watching this live or coming back in, watching this on record. So just as Louise mentioned already, our student ambassadors, as Louise is, are always willing to help out. I don't know, many people you've spoken to, a bit like Jack Butterley, that you said you spoke to when you came to DCU initially. I'm sure you've spoken to maybe hundreds of people on email or face to face, or maybe thousands at this stage. But so if you are listening to this back at any point, studenthelp@dcu.ie. And I know Louise and her colleagues and student ambassador team, as well as every other staff member, will be only too happy to help. I just want to thank you for your time and your insights, as always. Very much appreciated.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Louise, and we'll chat soon. Stay safe.
Yeah, thanks.
So that wraps up episode 8 of In Conversation With. We are flying through these episodes. So far, we have spoken to, including today's guest, 18 students, 16 of them current students and 2 of them being graduates the last couple of weeks. All of them episodes, if you want to catch any of them, as this one will go up online, you will get them all online. So do bear that in mind. They're there to watch back at any particular point. What you will get is their student perspective, exactly how they see things, how they get on, their experience, clubs and societies, courses, careers, and much, much more. So do head over there, head to our dcu.ie/CAO page anytime. Coming up next week on episode 9, which is on Wednesday, the 2nd of December, is Vasundra from our accounting and finance program, and we will be talking to Faith from our mechatronic engineering course. So again, 2 fresh student perspectives coming up on episode 9 next week. Just want to remind people again that before we leave you, before I say thank you for joining us for episode 8, there is plenty of other resources. There's insights, there's videos, there's blogs, there's podcasts around across all social media channels, lots of different resources that are online consistently, and we'll be keeping the dcu.ie/CAO webpage up to date for the full year and throughout the year. So do go there at any particular point. Just lastly, for me to say thank you. My name is Jonny Cooper. Thank you for joining us the last 60 or so minutes. I do hope you found value in the conversation that we've had. As always, get in touch anytime. Studenthelp@dcu.ie. Stay safe, and we'll speak to everybody really, really soon.